This from the Daily Wire says, Georgia Democrat Stacey Abrams said in a recently surfaced video that at 6 weeks, unborn babies' heartbeats aren't real, but are a manufactured sound designed to take away women's rights. Abrams is again campaigning to be the governor of Georgia after a failed run in 2018. Notably, the Democrat refused to traditionally concede the race to Republican Governor Brian Kemp, suggesting voter suppression and a broken system. So we have that clip, and let's listen to it.
There is no such thing as a heartbeat at 6 weeks. It is a manufactured sound designed to convince people that men have the right to take control of a woman's body away from her.
That is one of the most deranged conspiracy theories I've ever heard in my life. Not only, so there's no heartbeat, it's manufactured, and it is specifically manufactured. So I guess when you go in for the ultrasound tech is part of a wide-ranging far-right conspiracy to convince you that babies are people when really they aren't. This is all a conspiracy, and the ultrasound techs, they're in on it. They're all a bunch of Nazis and far-right extremists, terrorists. Glenn Kessler is a fact-checker for the Washington Post. He came to Stacey's defense, of course, says, for what it's worth, fetal heartbeat is a misnomer. The ultrasound picks up electrical activity generated by an embryo. The so-called heartbeat sound that you hear is created by the ultrasound. Not until 10 weeks can the opening and closing of cardiac valves be detected by a Doppler machine. Now, look, I'm tempted to just say, just like I would say to John, okay, you want to go and believe that all we care about is tax cuts for billionaires, that's fine. And here I'm tempted to say, okay, fine. If you guys want to go out there and make the argument that, well, it's okay to kill the baby because the heartbeat isn't technically a heartbeat. The heartbeat it's all part of a conspiracy. The fetal heartbeat is a right-wing conspiracy. If you want that to be your argument, especially going into the midterms, then go for it. Put it on a bumper sticker. I encourage you. Put it on poster boards. Put it on signs. March down the street. Fetal heartbeat is a right-wing conspiracy. Go ahead. If you want to parse the definition of heartbeat in order to justify destroying human life, if you want to expose yourself in that way, then go ahead. I stipulate if you want to expose yourself in that way. I don't mean in like a Jeffrey Toobin kind of way. But we should note here, even so, that they're wrong. So to fact check the fact checker, back to the Daily Wire article, it says a peer-reviewed science has found the following. The nonprofit Charlotte Lozier Institute has outlined, quote, the heart is actively beating at 6 weeks. Between a conception and birth, the baby's heart will beat approximately 54 million times. The baby's average heartbeat is 98 BPM. This will rise to 175 BPM by 9 weeks gestation. The presence of a heartbeat at 6 to 8 weeks gestation correlates with a live birth rate of 98% in normal pregnancies without intervention. The brain has divided into 3 primary sections responsible for sensing and decision-making, moving and tracking objects, and vital bodily functions. Eyes, ears, and nose start forming. So that's all what's happening at 6 weeks. Also, by the way, we should note that even on Planned Parenthood's website, up until just now, they also acknowledge that the heartbeat starts at 6 weeks, interestingly enough. Now, after this went viral, Stacey Abrams, they changed it to make even though it had been there for years, they changed it to put it more in line with what Stacey Abrams said. So there is a heartbeat at 6 weeks. But think about the wording. Going back to Glenn Kessler, think about the wording. He says the heartbeat at 6 weeks, he says, is really just electrical activity by the embryo. That's all. It's electrical activity generated by an embryo. Well, he's right, of course. But then you could say that about the heartbeat at any age. Okay? We could say that about Glenn Kessler's heartbeat. It's just electrical activity being generated by the body. You could reduce any human at any age down to mere mechanical functions if you want. Glenn Kessler, he's just a skeleton covered with organs and muscle and skin walking around. That's all he is. I mean, you get into it. He's just he's a bag of bones and flesh walking around. That's all he is. Glenn Kessler, what is he? He's a collection of atoms. That's all he is. You care that much about one little atom? So you take one little tiny atom, and we don't care about that, and then you add a bunch of them and make Glenn Kessler, and suddenly he matters? You could use that language to dehuman, deperson anyone. But it is strange. It's strange how selective the left and the media can tend to be on this subject. Like when exactly, in what scenarios are we acknowledging the personhood and humanity of unborn children? So here's a report, the exact same day this is going on. The Today Show has a report, which also has to deal with, those, quote, fetuses that just generate electricity. That's all they do. Let's watch this.
Wait, so you guys have to see this. Have you heard about this? So this morning, we wanted to show you, I'm trying to change the subject, some amazing baby faces. Look at this. So researchers in Britain wanted to know if babies in the womb react when the mom ingests a flavor of food. And this is what they saw. Do you want to guess what was on the left? So the left is a baby in its resting state. Okay. And then on the right, you see how he smiles 20 minutes? The mom ate some carrots.
Oh. On the left with the...
They was just a resting state.
That was the resting, but he liked the carrots.
She had like a carrot pill.
So were there other foods?
Yes, there were other foods. I'm glad you asked. You want to look at this baby's reaction before? Mom had kale.
Wow.
So here's the thing.
What about if mom had ice cream?
I don't know.
Why would they go with
Let me explain.
Carrots and vegetables?
So the study's co-author says the images could just show muscle movements when a baby's reacting to maybe a flavor that's bitter. So you shouldn't interpret it whether, it's happy or distaste.
No, I think that's how I do it.
Yeah.
Because once they get out of the womb, it's that same look.
Yeah, it is the same look.
Isn't that funny?
Though.
But it just goes to show, what you ingest.
Yeah.
You are what you eat.
And the 3D imagery is
pretty cool.
Really
they didn't have that when I was pregnant.
No.
Did you get 3D?
Yeah, I got 3D.
Really?
And honestly, Ollie and Rusty look exactly like they do
The 3D
in this
images?
picture.
Well, I guess that's supposed to be how it works.
My kids had chalk drawings.
Every single person up there on camera, all four of them, would adamantly support so-called abortion rights. So when it comes to babies experiencing taste from the food that their mother is eating, when it comes to that, it's, they're cute, look at those little babies. But if we're talking about actually executing those same babies in the womb, then they're just a collection of cells, a clump of cells is all. Let me ask you something. If a baby can react to Brussels sprouts and kale in the womb, do you think that the child might react to being physically tortured and torn apart limb from limb? Might there be a reaction to that? If the baby can experience sensation, taste, what's the experience of being torn apart, dismembered while you're still alive? Which is how they perform these abortions, at especially the later stages. 3D technology is also, it's almost miraculous. It's incredible. But that only goes to show how, on the conservative side and the pro-life side, we line up with science. Okay, we are the pro-science side because science only continues ever more to vindicate our position. The more we learn about what is happening in the womb, the more we learn about human development, the more horrific and barbaric abortion becomes. Well, if you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to get more content like it. If you're craving more content, go watch or listen to my full show at dailywire.com, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.